Hi guys, so in this video I'm going to show how I turned all these lovely unwanted sprues that I've got and turned them into this Rogue Idol. So this is something I hadn't heard of before, but in my recent video last week a chap called John Strange suggested I do a Rogue Idol. Whenever you guys suggest something I've never heard of, I always go and take a look, and as soon as I saw a photo of one I thought, yep, I'm definitely going to have to make one of those. It'd be perfect for sprues. And here we are, this is what I came up with. I have to say I'm pretty pleased with how he's turned out, and I especially enjoyed painting this little chap, as I think bricks are so easy to paint and they look so effective. Okay, so let's crack on and show how I built this. So to start with, I wanted to make a kind of a skeleton framework for this chap, and as you've seen in previous videos, I just love using these coat hangers, as they're really cheap, plus the wire in these is so strong it can hold up in almost anything really. But especially for sprues, this would be a perfect thing to hold it up with. So yeah, it's just a case of bending it, forming it, and roughly working out the kind of shape and size that I wanted. I'm not making this to any particular scale at all. Basically, I'm making this fit the new bases that I'm now making, which obviously have miniature hobbyist written on them. So yeah, it's a case of making a sort of a skeleton, getting the arms and sort of the body sort of here, and then wrap it with some finer wire, just to keep it all together, even though I am going to glue this together as well. This wire will just help keep it in place while it's setting. And yeah, there's the sort of the legs and the body. And yeah, just a case of now drilling sort of little holes into these plastic bases. So we'll be making some moulds of these bases very soon, so I can then cast them in resin. Just because, as you can see, obviously I have to make these in two parts on my 3D printer, just because my 3D printer is one of those smaller ones. So to make the rocks, all I've done is taken some of the sprue goo, put it onto this grease-proof tray, let it dry out, and I was able to pick them up, roll them into sort of ballish shapes, but obviously they're a bit too round, and obviously I want it to look more rocky-like. So it's just a case of pushing these in. So these are still relatively soft. Obviously the outside is fully sort of dried out, but the inside is still sort of gooey. Yeah, a case of pushing them around, so basically it cracks up the smoothness as well, and definitely makes them more rocky looking. So as these are still nice and soft on the inside, it's easy to sort of make holes, because basically you could just poke anything in these. But if these had fully cured and fully dried, then they would be ideal for just drilling normally. So yeah, it's just a case of sort of pushing the balls on the bottom. Obviously I'm going to make some sort of like feet, kind of like legs, ankles, that sort of stuff, but obviously rocky looking. So don't forget guys, this month all the builds I'll be doing are going to be fully sprue builds, obviously with the exception of glue, paint, and occasionally using these bits of wire just for supports. So if you haven't got any ideas of what you want me to make, leave them in the comments. I think next week I'm going to be making a orc workshop or mech shop, so that'd be quite cool. So I'm already starting to mould and cast a few pieces for that already, just because it takes obviously a while for the bits to dry and make them usable really. So yeah, so back to this, obviously it's just a case of building up the rocks, again trying to keep it roughly looking like a kind of a body. Again, I am using super glue to glue all the bits together. Obviously you can use normal cement glue for these kind of things, but just for quickness and ease, say the super glue for me obviously dries a lot quicker, and then I can sort of move on to the next bit, rather than using the cement glue and having to hold a piece in place for a good sort of 10-15 seconds. But yeah, there you go, there's a few little toes coming on. So I'm loving these little bases, and I can't wait to start producing more. Just because I think they're a nice sort of size, they'll fit well on my shelf, and then it'll make me make things to this kind of size really. Because say sometimes I do make things that are rather large, and obviously this is meant to be the miniature hobbyist channel, and not the large or extremely large hobbyist channel. So yes, we will be making a lot more things on these bases, as well as obviously a few larger builds here and there. So this is quite a simple build, but the one thing to bear in mind when you are making something out of the sprue glue is basically you need to make parts and then leave them for say a good 7-8 hours for them to sort of like start to dry out, harden up, where the acetone is obviously evaporating. But obviously as these bits are reasonably large, it is going to take even longer than that. So the outside of these is say nice and dry, but these are still very squishy. So I'd really want to leave these a good 24 hours or more before sort of painting or the final sort of sanding, cutting, that sort of thing. As I say, obviously the thicker the sprue goo is, the longer it takes to dry, which is kind of obvious really. If you are new here guys and you like what I do, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell to be informed of all the new videos I produce, as I do build something new every week. And according to YouTube, about 80% of you guys watching this now aren't subscribed. So it doesn't cost you anything, but it certainly helps my channel out so much, and I'd really be grateful if you could hit that subscribe button. Cheers guys! So back to the build. He's coming along nicely now, but I'm kind of feeling that these look more like pebbles rather than sort of like rocks or boulders. So I'm going to have to go using some of the soft ooey gooey sprue stuff just to try and make some sort of like squarer edges. Just to say, it does look like more like pebbles rather than big rocks. Yeah, he looks too cute and cuddly. Although I think the final version, he still looks kind of cute and cuddly, but definitely more rock looking than made of pebbles. So yeah, trying to use the sprue stuff, but the problem with this is obviously gravity isn't its friend. So when you put the sprue glue on, it does make it sort of like just sag. So all the new bits I did put on still ended up looking like it was made of pebbles. Some of the Rogue Idol images that I saw showed him wearing a mask, and I thought, oh, that looks really nice. So yeah, I thought I'd have a go at making a mask. So what I did, I made a flat panel out of the sprues, and then I got one of my rollers and rolled it on top of it just to make more indentations. I would have liked to have had one that had obviously a wood sort of effect, but the one I had was basically stones. But because it came out sort of irregular and not an even pattern, it kind of just made it look really good. So yeah, it doesn't look like stones, it does look kind of like wood panels. So after cutting it, I kind of glued it back together, but in a bit more of a rounder shape, just so it'd fit on his face really nicely. And yeah, I'm really pleased with how that's come out. But again, obviously these boulders that look more like pebbles really do need some adjusting. So what I've resorted to now is it's fully kind of like cured, dried, whatever you want to call it really. The acetone has evaporated. I can now go in with my Dremel kind of tool and basically sort of chop bits up, just to try and get some flatter edges and to make it look more rocky than pebbly. There were some areas where I couldn't quite get the tool in without, well, basically demolishing loads of the build. So yeah, I just went around with my little trusty scalpel and just cut some more sort of straight edges. But as you can see, the inside of these boulders, or whatever you want to call them, they're very honeycombed looking. And that's because there's obviously pockets of acetone sort of inside the goo. And when that does eventually sort of evaporate, it obviously leaves little air gaps, which I don't think looks too bad in this case. I was thinking about filling them in, but then I kind of thought, no, I'm not going to bother. I kind of like the look that it does look like these rocks are eroded. So I'm really pleased I did take the time to sort of cut back the rocks just to make them look more rocky than pebbly. So I really enjoyed the painting on this, just because painting rocks really is nice and simple. Obviously you start with grey, then go over the whole thing with a black wash. Again, I always typically put too much on, which is why I definitely have to sort of dab bits off. But yeah, this really gets in the shadows, the nooks and crannies, and just makes the piece have a bit more depth to it. So yeah, just continually do that all over the figure. Obviously you can see he's got a bit of a big butt there, just like the orcs do. Yeah, I'm really pleased with the painting on this one, and for a change, I really enjoyed it. So even with just doing a black wash, it looks more pebbly. But then to really make it look good, go over with a white highlight, and obviously this really does catch the edges and the sharp cornery bits with a little bit of white. And yeah, I just think the end result of this just looks so neat, so tidy, and definitely looks like stone. So yeah, I think I might have to make more things with stone. So I think rust and stone are my go-to painting techniques that I actually enjoy doing them, and I enjoy the end result. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how he came out there. Yeah, not a lot of colour to this guy, obviously. Just going to paint his mask brown. I'm keeping it nice and simple, so it's going to be painted brown, and then I'm going to go over it afterwards with a kind of a brown wash, I guess. Just again to give that a bit more sort of colour, highlights, shadows, and all that good stuff really. It just makes it stand out and look a bit more realistic. So again, going back to the reference photos that I've looked at, a lot of them show him having green glowing eyes. So yeah, so that's essentially what I'm going to do. I'm going to paint the inside of obviously where his eyes would be, although one of them's kind of recessed so far back you can't quite see it. And then just put a little bit of edging of the green on the wood, just because obviously his eyes are meant to be glowing and not just obviously there. So yeah, nice and simple but effective. And yeah, I'm loving how he's looking. So I've painted the base green because I will be doing some flocking a little bit later on. And say obviously here's that sort of that dark wash I'm going to do on the wood. Again, just to get into the nooks, crannies, and just to give the whole piece a bit more depth. So let me know what you think of this, guys, in the comments. As again, leaving comments and hitting that like button really do help the channel out, as it helps promote it to more people. And obviously eventually it will help me grow this channel where I can maybe one day do this full time. So now to add some grass with a good old little flocking tool. I don't really use this that much, but I should do really, because it is nice and simple, easy to use, and the end result I think looks really good. So obviously I'm going to do loads of the grass on the base, and I'm also going to put some grass in between the rocks, just so it looks like he's got grass or moss growing all around him basically. So this is definitely by far one of my favourite builds to have worked on, just because I really enjoyed every step of this, really enjoyed the painting, which I say is fantastic to enjoy it, and yeah, I'm very happy with the end result. So the last thing to really do is just to go around the base, painting it in a nice black, just to finish it off really. And as I say, so you will be seeing a lot more builds with this base in it, just because I think it's a lovely size, and it'll look nice on my shelf with loads of different builds all on the same bases. So okay, that's it guys, this is pretty much all done. Now to get on to the glamour shots and see it in its full glory. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to click on that like button. And if you're new here, hit the subscribe button up the top there. And if you want to help support the channel, become a patron just over here. There's another video just over here, so you can see more of what I do. Okay guys, that's it. Bye for now.